They would just the rules they had for us, they would like make us have alarms on our beds and like we couldn't get up in the middle of the night. We
Mm.
had PCA.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Adopted Gals podcast. I'm your host, Hawa Zabel.
And I'm your host, Famata Warfield. Today's podcast is going to be a little different. Like when we started this podcast, it was about the adoptee, giving a voice to the adopted children to tell their story. So we are now in the process of interviewing adopted children. And today we have Esther Fisher. Esther is somebody that we've known since we were like really young. She came from the same orphanage that we did. We've kept in touch since she was young. And so we wanted to bring her on today to tell her story, to voice who she is and the things that she has been through. So welcome, Esther. And I'm gonna start by asking you, just give us a little bit about who you are.
Well, my name is Esther. I kind of refer to Hadassah, and we can get into that, but I feel like that's like my name. And I'm from Rochester, Minnesota. I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa. Um, I have a daughter. Um, I live on my own. I'm independent. I have my own job. I'm a single mother. So,
All
yeah,
right.
that's a little bit about me.
Okay. Well, welcome. I'm so excited about this conversation because, this one, we are all catching up because we haven't talked to each other so long. So this is like a reunion, you know what I mean? It's a reunion. It's nice to see you. It's nice to see where you are in life and that you're doing well. And I guess let's start with the first question on here that we want to ask you.
Okay, yeah, and it's such
Yeah.
an honor to be on you guys' show, and I'm just so proud of you guys and
Aw.
your guys' growth, and you guys are beautiful women, and I feel like you guys are godly women, and you're like sisters to me, so yeah.
I mean, we feel the same.
Oh,
Mm,
very
Yeah.
sweet. That's so sweet. Thank you.
yeah.
So let me ask you. So how old were you when you got adopted?
Um, I got adopted when I was like 5.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I
but
thought I don't know why I thought you were like a baby when you got adopted.
no, I was in foster care since I was like 3, but I got actually adopted when I was like 5 years old because I got bumped to 2 different families.
Okay. So
Yeah.
originally from all is one, how old were you? Were you like 3 years old when you got adopted by your family when you came to the States?
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much I was 3 years old when I got taken from my family and put in all in what was it called?
All is one.
It's hard to say, I'm sorry. All is one, yeah.
Okay.
Were you, do you have any memories of being before like going to the orphanage? Because I don't think we ever had any interactions at the orphanage. So just wanting to know, like, did you have any memories or anything like with your family? Like, what was life like before the orphanage, if you remembered anything?
Honestly, I was too young to remember anything.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah, which is understandable because you were very, very young. So yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah, because
I was.
I think you left before I came in. So we never really ever got to interact until you were living with us for a little while. Now,
Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't stay with your family very long, if I
no,
remember. It was like maybe a couple months.
mhm,
But I remember I really like loved you guys like a lot.
yeah,
And
yeah.
I was a bad kid, I feel like.
I mean, I wouldn't say you were a kid. I don't really
Yeah.
saying little kids were bad and because you were just a child. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see you as that at all. And our family, like after you left, we didn't really see you that as like that at all. So don't think we
This,
thought you were a bad kid.
yeah.
just to give people, the audience, kind of like background on what Fatmata and Esther are talking about. So when Esther came to America, she originally went to Fatmata's family. So she wasn't fully adopted, right? It
No,
was
no, she was with a different family before she came to us.
Okay, so she was with a different family through
Mhm,
foster. Then she went to Fatmata's, and that was still through more so like foster, not full adoption. And then after Fatmata's family, the next family over, she got adopted officially, right? Esther, is
mhm.
that
Yeah, that's what
Okay,
happened. Yep.
yeah.
correct?
So let me ask you, your original family, the first family that adopted you, do you mind answering again? You, if you're not comfortable about talking about certain things, just let us know. We can cut that out. What happened? Why did they give you up? Why did they disrupt?
Um. Okay, so there's like sides of the story
Mm-hmm.
from their point of view and from what was really going on. And
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of like explicit,
Mm-hmm.
but and it might trigger some people. But they were saying when I was in their family, I wasn't listening and I was having tantrums
Mm-hmm.
and I was like very just too much for them, I guess. But
Mm-hmm.
I was really getting sexually molested in their family
Wow.
by the dad in their family.
Wow.
And I was old enough because I was like 3, 4. I was 4, so I
Yeah.
was old enough to remember what was going on because my daughter's 4 and she's very aware.
Yeah.
So I was old enough to remember what was going on. And that's why I was acting up, but they didn't know that because I wasn't saying anything and
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I mean, you were a child. Like there is zero blame on you on that. They were the parents that were doing that.
mm,
I am so
That's
sorry. Yeah.
That's crazy because, when we talk about adoption, right? You know, there's so many different things that can happen because no one is really going to check in to see
Mhm,
how the children are behaving. Are they getting any support? Like, is it a loving family? Like, they just get dropped off and
mhm,
that's pretty much it. No one comes in to see what their well being is like.
mhm,
To hear stories like this is not uncommon.
mm,
This is a very common story that I've heard as well from other people that were either in the foster system or adopted.
mhm.
Quite
yeah,
frankly, it's very
it's
disturbing.
sad.
It's sad. It's
Mhm.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Now, did your I know you probably were told by the father, don't tell anybody. Like you
Mhm.
were guilt tripped and all that. But did the mom, by any chance, had any inclination or ideas about what was going on?
No, she was a very good woman. I'm actually still in contact. Like I have her on Facebook.
Oh,
She
okay.
tried her hardest and like this as growing up, I accepted that it wasn't her fault that she gave me up
Mhm,
because she did try her best and she was a good mom. And even after I got adopted, she would try to come and see me and she made me this photo album with all my pictures when I was little and she sent me a whole bunch of pictures and um yeah, she was a good woman. So she had nothing to do with it. It was just the father figure in that family.
So
So
did this ever come out eventually, or is it still something that the mom is not aware of or the rest of the family is not aware of?
yeah, they don't know. I feel like I don't want to be responsible because that is like a lot
Yeah,
to handle.
to bear.
mhm,
And I don't want to be responsible to break up any relationships,
mhm.
with kids or with each other.
Okay.
And I feel like I forgave him.
Uh-huh.
So,
That's good.
yeah, I emotionally moved on. And
Mhm.
so I just I don't even really have it. I don't I feel like I don't have enough courage to tell her cuz I just don't want to be responsible of anything happening with their
Uh-huh.
family.
Yeah,
Okay.
crazy.
Mm.
I'm so happy that you have gotten to the point in your life where you've healed up enough. You know, at least you've been able to do some work. You know,
Mhm.
sometimes like the work isn't always done, but at least you're at a point where it's like you can see bigger than just yourself in the situation. But at the same time, it's like I have so much empathy for you because you just went through all of this by yourself alone, and I could only imagine like it's
Yes.
oof.
And we're proud of you, and because I didn't know, like this is my first time finding out, even though you were living with us for a little bit, and I don't know if my parents knew what was going on. And so hearing this is very shocking, but at the same time, I'm happy that you are at a point where you are forgiving and moving on, which is it takes a lot of strength and courage when it comes to something like that happening to you at a young age, and then you deciding, you know what, yes, it happened, but at the same time, I'm an adult, and it is my responsibility to figure out how to heal myself so I can move on with my life in a positive way. And honestly, I am heartbroken, and I'm so sorry. We're both so sorry that
Wow.
happened to
I'm
you.
sure.
That should
Yeah.
have never happened to you. And that is part of the reason why we are starting this podcast. So people who want to adopt and to create this awareness when you're adopting, you need to keep in mind all of the pieces that it takes. And are you mentally prepared to have a child that doesn't look like you, one that doesn't look like you in your home? Like, are you mentally well? Like, are you able to handle this? So that's part of the reason why we started this. So having you on here is going to help create even more awareness in that aspect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just glad that I can have a voice
Mhm.
because when I was adopted, you know, as Howard was saying, she said I was very quiet, and
Yeah,
my whole life, the things I went through, I always felt very like invisible.
yeah,
And I still kind of feel like that as an adult, but I'm like learning to love myself and like be more comfortable with myself. As a kid, I was very uncomfortable and like I wouldn't say awkward, but I never felt like I fit in anywhere.
Mhm.
hmm
And I'm learning that like I'm unique and like it's okay to be different, I guess.
yes, yes, absolutely.
Absolutely. And
Mm.
Listen,
especially, I think, especially with people like ourselves who have gone through this experience of, first of all, not having that type of maternal love from a very young childhood, going through a lot
mhm,
of neglect, a lot of violence, a lot of abuse and trauma, just like so many lot ofs
yes,
in our lives from such a young age. It's almost like normal for us to that we are different, right? Like we are different. Like we have to learn how to take care of ourselves, all the
mhm,
moving parts in ways that people who haven't gone through certain traumas, they don't have to go through that kind of work.
mhm,
So they're starting from here and
mhm,
we're starting from all the way behind like here. You know what I mean? And so we
mhm,
have to catch up emotionally to be
mhm.
able really live our life fully, you know what I mean? And the way that they're able to from the start. So like you just went through so much, girl. Like
Mhm.
Mm.
yeah, you really did. And you survived it. Like Famata was saying, you're a
Mhm.
survivor of all of this. And you're even able to have a baby at this
Yeah.
point. How old is your baby?
My daughter is 4 years old. She's turning 5.
Beautiful. That's
And
beautiful.
Yeah.
and she was telling me she's starting preschool soon. Yeah,
Aww.
I remember
She's in preschool,
she
but
is.
she's starting kindergarten next
Oh yes,
year.
I'm sorry. Yes, you did say kindergarten. So yeah, when she, I remember it feels like it was such a short time ago when she posted like your baby, and I'm like, she was so
I
cute.
know. She's
And
so
now
cute.
she's like about to be 5 and starting kindergarten. That's insane how much time flies. And
It does, and I'm so sad. I missed the baby stage.
yeah.
Yeah, your
Hmm.
daughter is very cute.
hmm
Uh,
Thank you.
so then did you have any maybe good memories or any things that maybe you feel like actually before I even go to that, like when you came to America, like what was your experience like? Because obviously you're coming in from Sierra Leone to a
Yeah.
completely different culture. Like any shocks that you had, any things that you were like, wow, I really like this, or I thought America was going to be this way, but it's actually this way.
And yeah, try to remember to the best of your ability as a 3 year
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I honestly don't remember Africa at all. Like,
yeah,
I'm African. Like,
Mhm.
I'm very proud about being African. But like, I was raised as American. Like
Yeah,
since I was 3, and that's
yeah.
all that I really know. And it really makes me like kind of. I feel like I had a loss, like in a
Mhm.
way, in a sense, because I don't know my African culture.
Okay.
And I feel like you guys are more close to your African culture, in a
Mhm.
way, because I don't
we
know
were
if I'm
here.
making sense, but I feel like I'm very like Americanized.
Yeah, which makes sense because we came here at an older age where we remember where we came from, the food, the culture, our families. So
Right,
it would
right.
make sense. And so, do you have any connection back to your birth family at all? Have you found who they are? Do you talk to them, or do you just have like no clue?
I actually have got to connect with them since
Okay.
2018 when I turned 18 years old.
Hmm.
And I've been in contact with them since then. And I wouldn't say we have the closest relationship, but we have a relationship. And I
Hmm.
know all my sisters, my brother. It was actually really cool because for Christmas, because usually I just talk to my mom and dad and my sisters.
Hmm.
But for Christmas, they were with my cousins, my aunts, my uncles, and it made me just like feel like, wow, I really have a whole family.
Yeah.
Like, you
Did,
know,
that is so beautiful. Did that help you? Because I know earlier you said that you felt like you didn't belong anywhere. Like connecting with your family, did that help you feel more connected, like you belong? Because I know that's how I felt when I started talking to my family. So I'm just wondering if that's like if you had that same sentiment and feeling.
yeah, I felt like I had a purpose. I know that sounds corny, but
No, it's not at
it
all.
just made it made me feel like, you know, because like growing up, I always felt alone, as I was saying. But like when I saw my family, it made me feel like I was a part of something,
Hmm.
and that I do have people that really care about me, and it
Hmm.
just made me feel like I belong somewhere.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we both. I know. I for sure had this feeling like where I went to Sierra Leone and I was like, wow, like getting to see everyone, and I feel like I look like everyone. Like I don't feel like I'm like a sore thumb just sticking out. You
Yeah.
know, people look like me. They don't necessarily talk like me because I'm so Americanized, but I can just be in the crowd and not feel so like alone and like I'm experiencing everything by myself. So
Hmm.
it's an amazing feeling. It is an amazing feeling. Yeah.
Truly, truly amazing. So now, can I ask you, what was your experience like? Because I know, so Esther got adopted to the family that she was with for the longest, and there were other people that were in that as well. So, what was your experience? Being with your latest family, your family, I would say your forever family because they're the ones who actually ended up adopting you. So, what was that like?
Growing up as a kid or like as an adult?
Both. Talk about both.
Okay. So growing up as a kid, honestly, I feel like even though it probably seemed like with Hawa that they were treating me bad, I wouldn't necessarily say all of my childhood was bad. I feel like I was like the older I got, the better relationship I got with my mom in a way, and the more trust we had. But as a kid, it was like I did get treated very differently, I feel like, but it wasn't always bad. But I felt like, you know, like just the rules they had and the way they treated the African American or the black kids was
Hmm.
just compared to their biological kids.
Hmm.
Like when I was a kid, I didn't notice because that's all I knew. Like
Hmm.
if that makes sense. But when I
Hmm.
got older, it really affected me and it really bothered me and it made me clash with my adoptive siblings and with the black kids as well
Hmm.
because they would treat like the black kids different
Mm-hmm.
um compared to their biological kids. So that
How
was
how would they treat them different? Would you say, like, if you?
they would just the rules they had for us, they would like make us have alarms on our beds, and like we couldn't get up in the middle of the night. We
Mm-hmm.
had PCAs, the white kid, not sorry, their biological siblings, they had more freedom. They were able to get a car at 16. They were just living life like a normal kid should, and we got treated like just, I don't know how to explain it, just different. Like we couldn't have friends. We had this system called like off and on track. And like if we did something bad, we would be off track and we couldn't go anywhere. And we would have to do true thought. And true thought was like we would have to basically just write about our attitude. And it doesn't sound horrible, but like it was mentally like I feel like it was emotionally abusive because like their biological kids never got disciplined. They didn't really care. They it felt like they loved them more than they loved us by the
Mm-hmm.
way they were treating us.
Mm-hmm.
And the things they were saying to us was just like I felt very bad about myself a lot growing up.
Mm,
I felt like just I didn't really have any self-esteem.
mm,
Um I never got told that I was pretty, growing up with my mom.
Mm-hmm.
She was very like I feel like like her love was conditional. Like she would love me based off if I did certain things the way she wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And if I didn't, then it was like I wasn't good enough. I felt like,
Mm-hmm. No,
yeah.
I completely, I can understand where you're coming from. Where my situation was not like extreme like that. But there were times when being different and having a certain background and having more trauma than the biological kids, where the punishments were definitely different, and I feel like the leash was a little tighter on me. And I don't know if because I don't know what books, because some adopted parents want to, they read books about children and the certain things that they've experienced, and maybe you shouldn't let them do this, you should let them do that. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from in that. And I did also feel very like I wasn't good enough because I felt like I was always a bad kid. And
Mhm.
it did, like you said, it affected me through my adulthood, and where it depleted my self-esteem, and I had to always make sure that I'm doing something right, or
Mhm.
I had to get like I need confirmation from people, like, am I doing something right? Am I
Mhm.
doing something wrong?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so I
I oh,
well, no, no,
sorry.
this is
No,
what
I was saying I definitely feel you and understand you because as an adult, I definitely catch myself trying to get validation, especially with social media. But that's a whole nother conversation. But like just validation in general, I always feel like I'm unlovable and I'm working on trying to love myself more.
Mhm,
But I know it's my childhood that has affected me on my self-esteem, but I know also it's not an excuse
mhm,
to, you know, be like I still need to take accountability for my actions and be a good person, and like I can't let that define me.
mhm. That
mm.
is very
Mm.
true, and to be honest, seeing where you are, I think you're doing great. You're
Yes.
beautiful,
Oh,
you're
thank
being done. Yeah, you really are, and we're so proud of you with all you've been through, and you are
you.
standing strong, and you are like, "You know what? It happened, but you know what? I'm gonna keep pushing through." And other than stating the obvious about how you were treated differently than the other kids, and of course, obviously, they should treat you better in certain areas, was there anything you felt like they could have done better or different in making you feel less like you are ostracized, or felt like you didn't belong, or felt like you were bad? Is there anything different that you felt like they should have done?
I feel like they just should have let me know my culture
Okay.
and not make me what they wanted me to be, and let me just
Hmm.
be a black African American. And
Yep.
I feel like I don't know if that makes sense, but
No.
Makes a lot of sense.
yeah,
That's something that we always like we talk about a lot in our channel is, you know, when you're adopting somebody from a different culture,
Hmm.
you have to be open to learn ways to incorporate their culture into your regular lifestyle every day as well. And adopted parents don't know how to do that. Maybe they don't have interest, or it's just they're thinking about they have other priorities. But I think us adoptees can know how much of a priority that is. It's very high on the priority list. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So I'm curious to know, like, with that, like, being in Minnesota, because you guys were in like Minneapolis or something like that, right? Like, how do you think they could have maybe incorporated your culture more? Like, you know, like if you could have given them feedback, or any other adopted parent listening to this, like thinking, hearing you talk, like how else could they have helped you like explore your culture a little bit more?
definitely having a relationship with, like, they allowed me to meet my parents when I was 18, but I feel like if I had a relationship growing up with my child, my when I was a child,
Hmm.
and allowing me to learn my language, allowing me to learn how to do hair, just things like that, and allowing me to hang out with other black kids,
Hmm.
because I never had black friends.
Hmm.
And so when I get around other black children, it's black black people, it's I feel out of place, if that
Hmm.
makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we can totally relate. Like for us, we had to actively work on like getting back our black card, as we say. We had
Yeah.
to actively work on like learning how to dance again, how learning how to
Yeah.
just socialize, because there's a lot of like nonverbal um social norms in every single culture, and we just didn't understand that. And for me, I know like I put myself in a lot of dangerous extreme, like what I thought was black, but it was like the worst of the worst of what being black was, right, of black culture. And I had to go through all those different phases to learn that, okay, this is what a whole healthy version of black looks like. You know what I mean? But if you're able to learn that from a young age and upbringing, you
Hmm.
won't idealize and romanticize like unhealthy versions of black culture. I don't know, did you ever go through that phase where maybe you found yourself hanging out with like the wrong crowd of black people or whatever?
Yeah.
Did you ever?
Yeah, definitely when I was like in high school, I like, because I never, like, when I was growing up, I never had black friends, but when I was 16, my mom allowed me to be in the Boys and Girls Club, and
Hmm.
that was my first time actually interacting with like a whole bunch of black kids.
Hmm.
And they made like they it was just different. Like, I was just drawn to them because it was people that looked like me, and they made me like the things that I felt like were a big deal and ridiculous. They would
Hmm.
be like, well, what are you tripping about? Like it
That's
was
what
just so
I totally get
different.
it.
Yeah.
I totally get it. Like
Yeah.
it's like we hit all these like different stumbling blocks and trying to get back to who we are and our culture and where we come from. So of course we're gonna think, oh, it's this. Nope, that's not it. Oh, it's this. No, not nope, that's not it. And then of course it's like for both How and I have talked about this where when we were hanging out with black people, they're like, oh, well, you're not really black because you sound white. So you're like, for me, the phrase was,
Yeah.
I don't know if you experienced this as well, where it was you're just a white girl in a black girl's body. So it was like
Mhm,
kind of
mhm,
jarring and crazy to
mhm.
hear because it's like I finally left, being around a bunch of, white people where no one looked like me. And it's like now I get to be with people who look like me and they're like, actually, you're not really black. So it's like, what am I supposed to do
Yeah.
now? So I don't know if
Right.
that's the same thing that's your experience as well. But
I definitely dealt with that growing up,
Yeah.
especially in high school too, because like I didn't really have a lot of friends, and
Mm-hmm.
a group of black women, they noticed how like different I was by the way I talked.
Mm-hmm.
African women, and there was a group of these girls that I was friends with in high school. Like I forgiven them. I'm not trying to talk bad on them, but like they definitely, there was one girl that was just saying a lot of things to me, like just a lot of mean things. I like she was saying you just act that way because you have white parents and you think you're special because you have white parents. It just a lot of just envious things now that I look back on it, because
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see it. I feel like that, like people, other black people saying that we sound white and we're too proper, that is just their way of being envious of us because they know we're not the typical,
Mm-hmm.
like stereotypical black person woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if I'm making sense,
No,
but
you make a lot of sense because
yeah.
as an adult, I actually was like hanging out with my girlfriend, and she was like, when we were younger, because when I was, like middle school and high school predominantly, like I was going to boarding schools. Like people could see came from my family was like more well off than if you were gonna think of stereotypical like black community, whatever. But I remember my friend, she was like, you know, me and like some of the other black kids, whatever. Are you there, Esther?
No.
I'm so sorry. My phone is about to die. I apologize.
Oh no, you're good. You're
I
good.
have to just plug it in real quick.
No, you're
Okay.
good. Let me know when you're done, then because we can cut this part out.
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
good. Sorry.
No, you're good, honey. Uh, but yeah, so I remember me and my friend, and she was like, we were kind of jealous because you had these white parents, and they were able to do more for you, and we all were kind of jealous because you were adopted. Like we all thought you had it all, like you were first one,
Right.
you were doing this and that.
Mm.
I'm like, really? Because I was going through a really hard time. But
Right.
I was jealous of y'all because you guys got to
Yeah.
do all these different things and have this type of independence that, I didn't feel like I had. So it's kind of like grass is greener on the other side in a way.
Yeah, the greener grass and
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say like I definitely understand because growing up I feel like seeing like other black kids with their families, it was a place of love with their parents, as
Mhm.
and I felt with my family it was like based on what I would do for them and
mm,
how I would act. And so like on the outside looking in, it looked like everything was fine to like to other black kids that I hung out with when I was in high school, but they I felt like they could notice I was very they noticed I was different. If
mm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. Like, of course, we were fortunate to have the parents that we got because they were able to provide for us financially, versus other black kids who may not have the same thing that we had. But like you said, people looking outside or looking within think everything is all roses and butterflies. It's like, yeah, we our needs are getting, taken care of, but there's also other things that are going on that we are struggling with for sure.
Yeah, it's like even just thinking about the first family you were with, right? Like from the
Mhm,
outside, it looks like you have this white family, they're taking care of you, but then this stuff
mhm,
is happening with the father. And then I'm sure there was other type of emotional abuse there too, right? And it's like
mhm,
for us, it looked different. Like
mhm,
my family never, there was no like type of molestation or anything like that within my family.
mhm,
I was going through a very hard time, and Fatmata, she had her own struggles as well. That it's like
mhm,
you would have to be in it to really see the reality, you know, like any family, whether they're adopted or not. But this is just to say that it being adopted into a white family does not make your life necessarily
Easier. Better. It, like, yeah, sorry.
better. I
Yeah.
guess in some ways, like as far as security and all that,
Yeah.
yes. Um, but yeah, so let me ask you. So when you were getting back into like kind of reclaiming your identity, your blackness, and kind of your self-esteem, like what are some things that you felt like you did that helped,
Mm.
that made you feel a little bit more part of the black community again, you know, and that made you feel good about yourself?
I started listening to music because growing up I couldn't listen to secular music,
Mm-hmm.
and I started listening to like just black culture music, and I started like because I always like felt like I needed to look like a white woman in a way, like with my hair and my clothes. So I started doing like trying different makeup styles, the things that would work for me and my skin tone, and wearing things that would work with my shape because I didn't look like physically like my white siblings. And so I started just mm, finding things that work for me and my own identity, and hanging with people that I feel like brought the best out in me instead of trying to fit in with the white girls because I never did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when you were like able to, like, I know for me, like part an important reason why I think it's so good to kind of get back to your culture and like really have that appreciation is because you bring a certain type of like confidence and proudness of who you are to conversations to the table. Like, did you observe like a shift in the dynamic with your family after you started like exploring, you know, yourself
Mhm.
outside of the white community? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, I felt like I honestly got like disowned in a way
Really?
because, yeah, because I felt like that's what they didn't want. They
Mm.
didn't want, they wanted me to be very Caucasian, but I wasn't. And that's why I feel like if you're going to adopt black kids, you need to allow them to be
Mm-hmm.
their in their full black fullness or blackness, a black culture. Don't try to make them into something they're not,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
That's
Yeah, like, it definitely. And how and I spoke about this in one of our previous videos about how adoptive parents can create foster a better environment in making sure their kids don't forget where they're from or to incorporate their culture into their home is by reaching out, like we talked about, go find people who look like your kids. I mean, go find other black people, learn about their
Mhm.
culture, like
Mhm.
make a meal that your child likes, that is black or that is African, like
Mhm.
taking those
Right.
steps
Mhm.
and exposing them to their culture and welcoming the music and the different ways of the culture into the home to make them feel more at home and make them feel like they're more welcomed, and to bring that versus just expecting your adopted child to just fit into this new environment and that's all you really care about. While because if you do that, you are erasing that child's who they are, their identity, and where they're from, and everything that makes them who they are. So we've talked about that before. So we totally understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Are you and your family like your adoptive family now? Are you guys like in communication with each other? Because you mentioned that something about being disowned. So I didn't
Mhm.
know if that was like literal or if that was like,
Oh,
you guys, are you
honestly,
open?
I connected with my adopted mom last November, as I was telling Emily, but I don't have a good relationship with any of them.
Mhm.
And it's really sad because my real family isn't in America, so I don't really have family.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I try, like Zanaya is my family
Mhm.
now. But it's sad because she only has her dad's side of the family. She doesn't have my side. And I know I talk to my family in Sierra Leone, but it's not the same because they're not here. Like
Yeah.
it like we talk and FaceTime, but they're physically not here. So
Mhm.
it's like I'm just we're both here physically. Like Will's I got her family here, her dad's side, but I feel physically alone, especially on holidays. It's hard.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
yeah.
I can definitely relate with that because I know we talked about it earlier and you had asked me why I don't have a relationship with my family anymore. And I feel that too, where there's times where I feel like I don't have a family. And even though like I don't have a relationship with my family, I've realized also that you can create your own family. One, I mean, my husband is my family. You know, we're creating our own family. We're gonna have our own kids, and it's gonna be our family. But yeah, there does come like that feeling of, oh, I don't have anyone, you know, I don't have a family that I can um, call my own. Like my family, my brother is back in Sierra Leone. I don't have a good relationship with them either. So it's
Mhm.
like, dang. But now I also look at my husband's family as my family now too. So that kind of helps in a way. But I get it. There's a difference in you having your own family that you can bring your kids to and they can be part of their lives. But I definitely get it. I definitely get it.
that must be
Uh,
really hard to
Yeah.
have that as like a reality. And
Yeah.
I know that your adoptive family, you know, she, well, actually, your parents, they adopted a lot of kids who maybe had like some health issues or challenges, and obviously internationally as well from Africa. So, like, I could only imagine, like, for both parts, both sides, like, how that could be so hard, like, managing, having kids. I mean, some of the kids, I think there was some that had like schizophrenia and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
So it is like real life, like challenging situations that a lot of parents probably could not handle. You know what I mean? So I could
and
imagine how challenging it's like on both sides, and especially even for you guys, like having to be siblings and get along with each other and understand each other. You know what I mean? Like so it is sad to hear that you and your siblings don't have a relationship. What about you and the? I know they had some adoptive other black student kids as well. Do you guys don't really have too much of a relationship either?
honestly, no.
Mhm.
It's sad. It's really sad to say, but I the only relationship I have is with my brother he's from Africa as well. He's adopted, but
That's sad.
I don't, yes, but
God,
yeah,
goodness.
yeah,
Yeah,
but I don't have a relationship with my sister Cotty or my other black siblings, and honestly, it doesn't affect me because we didn't really have a good relationship growing up either. We just it was like we were forced to be siblings because we all got adopted.
yeah,
If that makes sense, like we actually really didn't like each other. But it's like the love is still there because those are my
Yeah.
siblings. But I
right.
see how different it is with my biological siblings. Like it's love like how it should be. Even though it's we don't always see eye to eye, it's still that unconditional love. As in
Yeah.
with my adopted family, it's like it's very just what's the word? Like just not animosity, but like it's not genuine like love.
Mm.
It's like, oh, like you're my sibling. I guess I'll talk to you because we grew up together. But and I didn't realize like how much like because when I started hanging out with other black people, it was like they were very close to their family,
Mhm.
and they treated family as like family is everything.
Mhm.
And growing up, we didn't really treat each other like that. We didn't have that trust. We didn't have each other's back. It was very like every person for themselves. That's how we were raised. And
Mm.
it wasn't like that with the other biological kids. It was just the black kids.
Mm.
Because so it was a lot of just division
Mm.
between us. So yeah. I hope I'm making sense.
No, you are. It makes a lot of sense. I see where you're coming from.
Hmm.
So we're kind of winding down a little bit, but I mean, we still have a few more questions for you, just as far as like, I think, did you already answer this as far as like what things you think that, I know you didn't get too much chance with the first two families you were with, but maybe the last family you were with, like, what do you think could have been like done better to maybe help you become the best version of yourself and have that confidence and that self-esteem that you really needed after all that trauma that you went through?
I would definitely have to say having more freedom
Hmm.
and just feeling more comfortable um, talking and going to my parents because I never felt like I could go to them. I
Hmm.
felt very alone emotionally, and I also deal with mental health.
Hmm.
And so that was a really hard thing growing up. Um, just feeling like I belonged in the family because I
Hmm.
always felt like I was off or there was something wrong with me.
Hmm.
Did you guys ever try like any form of like, I know your family was very religious. You guys were
Mhm.
Christian, but did you guys try any like therapy or any support group for the kids that were adopted at least, or the whole family ever? Or was that something that was ever part of,
Yeah, I actually was in therapy my whole childhood, and that actually is one thing that really helped me a lot. And I'm very thankful they put me in therapy. And I'm trying to currently get myself back in because I realized how much of a difference it had on me or it
Hmm.
has on me. So therapy it was a big thing that I was grateful for, and I feel like that's why I've been able to grow so much as a person because I've dealt with those things already, and it's no like I'm not bitter. Like I can talk about this and
Yeah.
let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That is so beautiful. I can't stop saying it and just how proud we are of you and you just
Thank
continuously pushing
you.
through.
I'm
And
proud of you guys
yeah,
too.
yeah, very proud of
I'm
you.
like, I'm about to start crying just
Me
thinking
too. I've been
about
trying to hold my tears.
what you went through.
Let
Um.
me ask you, you said your name is you changed your name to Hadessa. I don't remember.
Well,
Or is that
actually,
name, your African name, your true name?
my name is Esther. Like that's actually my name. But
Oh, okay.
I
Change
yeah,
it.
but Hadassah. I remember when I was staying with you.
Oh,
Sorry.
last year.
Do you go by Emily anymore or no?
I go by both. I've learned
Okay.
to experience both, but
Okay.
what about you? Because we I think you logged out for a little bit when you were trying to tell us.
Oh
Yeah.
no, I was saying my name. I believe when I was staying with your family, you guys used to call me Hattie. I believe,
Hattie. Yes,
and it was
Oh.
we did call you Hattie. Man, my memories be so foggy. I just like
yeah.
so much
Um,
my childhood. I'm sorry, girl.
yeah, and it was short for Hadassah, right? Hattie
Yes.
was. So
Yeah.
I feel like that name and it Hadassah means Esther in Hebrew. So I just
Mhm.
feel like that is just a new representation of me. And Esther, I feel like I really don't like my name.
I got there. I get you. I was there too with my name
Yeah.
Emily because my original name is Famata. So I was like,
Mhm.
and I've learned to love Emily and Famata because I've created an identity with Emily as well. So I tell people just call me whichever. But Hattie is I completely forgot that that was the name that we were calling you.
Mhm. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's
I know it was so long ago.
yeah, it was so long ago. But
Yeah.
that's a beautiful name. So you go
Mhm.
you're telling people to call you that and or Esther, or you prefer that more than Esther.
Honestly, both is fine with me.
Okay.
But like Esther is my government name, but I tell people
Emily's my
Hadassah. Yeah.
girlfriend.
Yeah.
I love that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So let me ask you something. If you were to go back, have you ever heard of the term healing your inner child, talking to your inner child?
Yeah, I
So
have.
if let's pretend that you were back when you were little. Like if you were looking at your little self right now, and what would you say to her? Like what would you do if you were looking at her right now?
Mhm.
I would tell her you are enough,
Mm,
and to put God first,
yeah,
because with Christ, anything is possible.
yeah.
And that you, I would just give myself the biggest hug, and I would tell myself everything's going to be okay.
Hmm.
And to allow myself, to give myself a chance to be a better person at each and every day, and to
Yeah.
not give up on myself.
Hmm. That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. And I've always had such like love for you since the moment you came into our house, and
Mm.
every now and then we
Yeah.
connect. And I just want to let you know you are beautiful inside and out.
Oh, thank
All the
you.
things
You guys are too.
Yeah, all the things that happened to you when you were younger, they were not your fault, and I hope you don't ever feel like you are at fault. You were a child. The things that were happened to you was the fault of the grown-ups. They were the ones who were supposed to love you and cherish you because
Mm,
you are worthy. You've been worthy since you were a child.
thank
And
you. I really needed to hear that.
yes, and I hope you continue to live your life like that, knowing that you are more than enough and anything that you want for yourself, that you can get it and that it is yours. And don't ever think less of yourself or feeling like you are not enough because us, we see you, we understand you, and we love you and
Mm,
appreciate you so much for coming on here and
I,
telling your story
mm,
and being so open and honest because I
Yeah,
know that's not the easiest thing to do.
yeah, and you're
I
being
just want
you're
to say,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, I wanted to say thank you guys so much for letting, I feel so blessed and honored, and thank you for letting me come and tell my story. And thank you for asking me, the fact that you were thinking about me and that you guys wanted me to be a part of your guys' podcast is amazing. And so I'm just so grateful.
Yeah, we always think of you.
And
Always think of you.
like Matza was saying, it's such a vulnerable position to be in on your side, and
Yeah,
you having gone through so much that you've gone through, it's still being able to have like an
yeah,
open heart, like that is so beautiful. Because some people, so many people, they get so cold and hard, and it's
yeah.
like understandably it's hard for them to even be this vulnerable. So really appreciate you even getting on here, being okay with this, putting your
Mhm,
face out there. And I think it's really going to help other adoptees who have gone through very similar traumas, similar storyline, and are in the same place as you are. And keep
mhm,
being a better version of yourself for your daughter and for
mhm.
you first and foremost. You know, keep doing what you're doing right now. Like you seem like
Yeah.
you're handling business and you're also thinking about your well-being up here. So
Yes.
good.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And you guys keep doing what you guys are doing. I'm so proud of you guys. You guys have your own name, your own things going on, and you guys are badass.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
guys, that is the end of the show.
Wait,
Thank you.
I had one
Go
last
ahead.
sorry, I had one last question. I know we're hitting on the hour, but if you could give advice to other young adoptees, right, who are listening, maybe they're high schoolers, and they're struggling right now actively, like what advice would you give to them?
I would say life gets better, and don't don't lose hope, and it's okay to not have everything figured out,
Mhm,
and just take things one day at a time.
mhm,
Explore, try new things, explore new things. Don't be afraid to get out your comfort zone. Don't
mhm,
hold yourself back.
mhm.
Okay,
It's
that's a
beautiful.
whole recipe. I love it. That's
That it
good.
is a beautiful recipe. So once again, thank you. Thank you guys for joining us on another episode. This was a reunion, an emotional episode, and we can't wait to have more adoptees on here telling their story. And so we hope you guys like this episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. So till next time, bye.
Bye.